There's a one single thing I'm constantly pushing, and my viewers and my customers in business consulting, that the product and the service that you offer to your customer is about solving their problem. And what is important in solving a problem? Well, problem itself. How severe this problem is. Because more severe the problem, more likely your customer not just buy it, but pay more. But yes, my name is Alex, you are watching Know the Game, and today we have our third lecture on marketing, and the topic will be factors influencing consumer behavior. You see, quite a lot of times when you will watch a marketing content, they will straight away start with the marketing mix. Well, not on this channel, as you can see, yeah? Because the marketing mix is about decision making. And how are you supposed to make decisions when you don't understand people you're making decisions for? We create a product and service for clients and because of clients. So ignoring how they think, it's not just not smart, it's bold. And one of the best examples would be Juicero. This startup raised about $120 million from major funds, including Google Ventures. The idea was a smart juicer with Wi-Fi. Very future, very Silicon Valley, very impressive on paper. And to be fair, device was high-tech, yeah. It scanned QR codes on each pouch and connected to the internet, check whether the product was expired, whether the pouch was authentic, and whether everything was safe. So for $400 US, you are not just buying a juicer, you are buying a smart quality control for your juice. Sounds fancy, right? Well, until you notice one tiny thing. The juicer was squeezing juice from a pouch, not from fruits, from a soft plastic pouch. You could squeeze the juice out of that pouch with your hands. No machine, no Wi-Fi, no app, just fingers. In a normal situation, the company could have pivoted. For example, they could have become a premium juice producer. Unique recipes, new packaging, new positioning. That was possible in theory, but not there. Because most of the investment went into the hardware, into the machine, into the smart device that turned out nobody actually needed. And this is where it gets interesting. In the chase for the next big thing, even the experienced investors make massive mistakes. Well, just like Google Ventures with this juicer. Why? Well, because everyone is obsessed with technology. But value is not in that technology. Value is in solving a problem. For the customer, the main value of any product is how well it solves something that actually matters to them. A product is always a solution to a problem. Always. So what went wrong there? Well, pretty much everything. First, they called it a juicer. But juicer in people's mind is something that works with fruit. This one works with pouches. That already breaks expectations. No, that was not the only issue. Second, the smart features. Well, smart features could have done the change, right? Well, they were extremely limited. It checked expiry date. It verifies QR code. That's it. Really, no temperature control, no freshness optimization, no real added intelligence that justified the price. We did already establish every product solves the problem, but the price has to be somehow matching the level of the problem, right? So again, a question is brutal and simple. Are we ready to pay $400 US, which was actually second price? It was a bit higher before, for a device that basically checks expiration date and squeezes some substance from a pouch. Because that's a Juicero story. And yes, I know, That sounds too perfect for the case study, right? It's like it's a textbook example which makes other marketeers to feel a little bit smart. But it happened. Because you see, inside of the market, in real life, of course, everything is even more messier. People don't walk around with neat, rational checklists. So now let's switch into the theory and break down what actually influences consumer decisions. Why do consumers choose so differently? Sure, we can name the obvious things like age, income, lifestyle. But if we want to understand behavior, we have to go deeper into reasons behind the reasons. And for that, we would actually need to talk with you about the three big group of factors: psychological, social, and cultural. Let's go in order and start with psychological. This is what happens inside of the person: motivation, experience, knowledge, emotions. And it's not only why do I buy this? It also how do I feel while I'm choosing? What do I feel when I'm comparing, when I'm hesitating, when I press buy, and even when I finally receive the product? All that is in psychology. And let's start with the first one: motivation. And here is a quick question: what is motivation? Motivation is basically needs in motion. Needs create tensions. Tensions create action. No need, no action. And we can simplify needs in three main types: psychological needs like food, water, comfort, safety, basically the basic survival stuff. Second, social needs: belonging, acceptance, love, respect, status. And third one, self-realization, growth, achievement, proving yourself, and unlocking potential. Those needs fuel the motivation. And this is exactly where iPhone example fits really well. In theory, what we will need from the smartphone device? Well, communication and apps. That's it. But in certain environments, Android is treated like a bucket, useless device, terrible device, or red flag.
Is it a red flag if they have an Android and not an iPhone? Yeah.
Which pushes people in the end to choose iPhone. Even if Android is more affordable for them, even if Android fits their needs better. Well, because motivation isn't technological anymore, it's social. In the end, it's all about, I want to fit in, I don't want to stand out in the wrong way. And that's also why some Android flagships brands play the opposite strategy, especially the ones without that massive global status like Samsung or Google smartphones. They don't sell, be like everybody. No. They sell individuality. Be yourself, stand out. This is a phone for people who don't follow the crowd. Same product category, totally different psychological trigger. Next point, perception. Perception is not about what we say. It's about how it lands in someone else's head. We can speak the same language and still misunderstand each other because everyone has filters, experience, expectations, biases, assumptions. And here is the key thing. The exact same message can land in totally different ways, depending on the person and the context. So the job is not to shout the loudest, the job is to put the emphasis in the right place. Take stereotypes. Sometimes we lean into them. Yes, sometimes we break them, but either way, precision matters. Best example, the word cheap. For one group of the people, cheap means greater deal, smart choice, good value. For another group of people, cheap means low quality, suspicious, probably trash. And just imagine you have created equivalent of the most popular product, but it's half the price. What should you say, huh? Because if you scream, we are the same but cheaper, a big chunk of people will think, hold on a minute. So, cheaper you say. So you're worse, right? You see, it's always about the way how we play with the words, how we shift the framing. We can't just say cheap, we should say we found a more efficient way to produce it. That's why we can deliver the same value for less. Not cheap, smart, not saving money, making a good decision. Now let's talk about the experience. People don't approach your product with an empty brain. They already know something. Maybe they use something similar. Maybe they tried your competitor. Maybe they heard stories. It doesn't matter. The result is the same. They already have expectations. So marketeers have one brutal question to answer. What will people compare us with? If you're a new brand, it's not about yelling, we are better. Everybody says that. That's why nobody cares. Your job is to show immediately what is different, what is easier, what is more convenient, and why it's worth even trying at least once. And if you're an established brand, the problem flips. Because here comes another issue. People think that they already know you, but you change. You improve, you release new version, you fix the problem. And sometimes the past experience wasn't even good, but people still keep that old impression. So the question becomes, what did we improve? What's new? Why should people come back? Or why should they stay with us instead of switching? But you see, in both cases, consumer experience is a starting point. Whether you like it or not, it's irrelevant. So either you learn, manage this experience, or this experience will manage you. And here's the thing worth remembering, and we talked about it before in my video about unique selling proposition. But I will repeat it again. You must explain clearly, quickly, and painfully obviously why your solution is better, simpler, and more effective than what people used before. And I will emphasize, used before. Don't draw them into the technical details. Don't overload their brain. They should understand it in seconds. Oh, interesting. That makes sense. I'll take it. That's where the real influence on the consumer behavior begins. Everything else is just a noise. Think about something simple. For example, starting a coffee shop. You're on a street corner. There are already 2 coffee shops selling craft latte, and the third one opens. So what exactly is this third place supposed to do to make people instantly feel, oh, this one is different, I should try it? It has to be obvious right away. Maybe it's super cozy vibe. Maybe the staff look like anime characters and the whole place feel like a memorable things that you'd really want to make photo with. Or maybe, just a thought, because this place serves fast, quality coffee with wonderful, rememberable service. Just a thought. Because when someone walks into a coffee shop, they already have experience. They're already comparing you to those 2 other places next door. So your difference needs to be felt, not explained. You see, if you have to convince people with a long story and you need to explain them something to feel like you worth trying, you already lost. They'll just go to the next place that is familiar and predictable. Now, the last of the psychological factor would be beliefs. Beliefs are fascinating because they are not facts. They are just things people believe, often with no rational reason. And marketeers love beliefs because you can either align with them or challenge them. And yes, challenging beliefs can work extremely well. For example, Renault, like I mentioned in a previous video, basically pushed the idea that safe car doesn't have to be expensive car. And it worked, but you have to be careful here, because some beliefs are not random. Some beliefs were manufactured, and someone is making serious money from them. Best example, the beers. They convinced the world that without diamond engagement ring, the engagement is not real.
Looks like if I don't buy you one of these ring dealies, then I'm a tiny pecked pencil neck.
Well, it's on the side of a building, so it's gotta be true.
Well, carum.
That's the emotional logic. And then, decades later, a company called Brilliant Earth shows up and says, hold on, real love doesn't require diamonds. Ethics matter, sustainability matters, individuality matters. This is about love, not money. Sounds noble. And of course, the beers didn't respond with heartfelt discussion. They responded with lawyers. Brilliant Earth got hit with accusations like damaging reputation, undermining the market, devaluating the industry, unfair competition, basically the full legal buffet. They had problems, big ones. So yes, breaking beliefs can be an insane PR move. It can cut advertising costs because the controversy creates attention, and attention market your brand for free. But here's the catch. If you break a belief that someone created and profits from it, you're not just fighting ideas, you're fighting people with budgets and lawyers. So yes, you can do it, but just don't do it naively, because you're thinking that you're doing for the nice things, for the right stuff. Ooh, right stuff costs a lot. So that's psychological factor done. And now we move to a social factor. And socially, people are influenced by three big things like family, reference groups, and role and status. And obviously, let's start with family. Family matters a lot because family is where most of our consumer habits are born. What brands we trust, what we consider normal, what we think is worth paying for, what we think is a waste, what we notice, and what do we ignore. In other words, family gives you a framework, not just what you buy, but how you buy and what do you value. In childhood, it's quite obvious, yeah? You depend on your parents, so your preferences get, well, shaped automatically by them. So food, clothes, routines, even brand loyalty. In your teenage years, the influence becomes more indirect. You might pretend you don't care, but you still react to the parents' advice, their expectations, their recommendations, even their criticism. Not always straightforward as intended, but the ironically funny part, when you are already a full adult, you still carry that family firmware in your head. You still look back and what your family considered important, and you keep repeating the same patterns, often without noticing. But here's the catch. Family influence is not universal. It heavily depends on a technology and how modern this technology is. Let me put it bluntly. Can your grandmother recommend you a good smartphone based on your actual needs? Well, probably not. Even your dad, who used to be able to advise you on the cars, can feel completely lost these days when the market is full of EVs and hybrids. Modern cars are basically computers on wheels. So he might say, listen, if you buy the old car, 20 years old car, I can give you a help, I can give you a lot of advice, but with these things, sorry man, I'm lost myself. So when we talk about the family as a social factor, we usually talk about more traditional categories, things that haven't changed dramatically over the time, products where family experience still exists and can actually be passed down. The next part of social factor is reference groups, basically people around you. Now, these days, it became more complicated because traditionally that meant friends, classmates, co-workers, your social circle. But modern days, when social media came into our life, it's also online communities. People you only know through the internet, bloggers, influencers, creators, the ones you feel on the same wavelength with even if you've never met them at all. And yes, this overlaps with psychology. The iPhone examples we talked about earlier is already half social, half psychological. The borders are blurry. We're human, we're messy. And here's the simple rule. Similarity creates connection. If someone has the same thing you have, that alone can start a conversation. Same headphones, easy. Oh, same sweater, same polo shirt. Wow, sure. Same car, even easier. And the bigger and cooler the same thing is, the faster that connection can happen. Humans bond over the objects like it's a survival skill. Now, small, tiny little bit cultural note, yeah? This doesn't always goes the same with women. Because same dress can ruin party, not just for both of them, but for everyone else as well. Though, when similarities are about not something that about making them more beautiful than others, it's again works the same way. It's just when it's not about the competition, about the beauty. So reference group is not just a factor. They're basically a social identification system, like friend or foe, but in peaceful life. And it looks like this. Oh, you drink the same coffee as me? Respect, we're on the same tribe. And marketeers love this. They either adapt their product to a reference group, or they can build an image that says, if you use this product, you belong to this group. My favorite example is Jolt Cola. Usually people just called it Jolt. And in the movie Hackers with Angelina Jolie, the drink was presented like it's official fuel of real hackers. You code all night? Here's double caffeine. You're in. You're one of us. And funny enough, when I was living in Ireland, it actually became a real thing. A lot of IT guys, especially programmers, especially the hacker types, love to carry a bottle of Jolt Coke as a badge. Like, yes, I'm that guy. Now, roles in social status. Oh, yeah. People have this amazing habit of putting labels on each other. And once label exists, there's a template. Yes, how you should look, what you should own, how you should behave. Yeah. You're a student, there's an image. Bachelor, another image. Husband and father, another one. Athlete, businessman, you already have association in your head. Each status comes with a social kit. If you don't have the kit, people treat you like you are fake. You're a businessman, successful one, right? Prove it. Where's your suit? Where's your suit? I don't care, it's 35 degrees Celsius outside. We love templates. Yeah, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg walk around in the t-shirts and sneakers, but they are icons. You're not. So please put on your suit, man. You're a dad and you're driving a sports car? What kind of dad are you? Go buy a minivan. You're an athlete and you're eating burger with cola? No. Buckwheat, salad. That's it. You're an athlete. Behave like one. That's how strong roles in the status are. They shape expectations, and expectations shape buying behavior. And by the way, these expectations are not always stupid. Sometimes they are actually logical. Sometimes they are even rational, which exactly why they're so easy to use in marketing. Just show that your product fits a certain social role, and boom! The customer immediately feels, that's for me. Look at basically any ad. Minivan, family, instant noodles, student, sneakers, successful athlete. Advertising is basically whispering, aha, you're this type of person, or you want to be this type of person. Here's the product. Put it on, buy it, use it, and you'll become that person. It's so damn simple. You see, people love to fit the labels. People really want ready-made templates for them. Marketing just, well, hands them the costume and says, here, wear this identity. So that was the social factor. Now let's move on with the final factor, culture. And culture breaks, again, believe it or not, 3 different parts: regional culture, subculture, and social class. And here I'm gonna shift the angle a little bit differently. Because culture is easier to explain if we will explain it from the perspective of the international company entering a region it doesn't understand. You see, if you grew up in this or another region, there's a lot of regional things that feel, well, normal. You don't even notice them. But from the business side, you suddenly realize, oh, this factor makes you break down a whole entire strategy. So let's start with regional culture. When international business hears regional culture, the first thing usually comes into my mind, well, religion. In one place, you can't eat the pork. In another place, you cannot eat beef. In one place, well, you can show woman in a revealing outfit. In another place, that's a haram. All true. But my favorite examples are the ones that sounds ridiculous until they destroy your marketing campaign. For example, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about 666? Huh? Well, in China, 666, liu liu liu. It means cool, awesome, nice. People literally say it as a compliment. So just now imagine you will take this vibe and run the same ad in another region. Hey guys, wow, 666, you have such a nice car now, huh? To a Western audience, that will sound like selling a vehicle sponsored by Satan. Not exactly premium branding, right? Or another example, a green hat. Try selling green cap or green hat in China and you can seriously offend some people. Because culturally, a green hat implies your wife is cheating on you. Small detail, right? Just a color. Just an accessory. But many companies have lost money. And not only money, but reputation because of tiny local meaning like that. Someone tried to save on market research, didn't check it, didn't ask locals, didn't even Google properly, and then boom! Congratulations! Your brand is now a joke in a region. And yes, we're back again to the same very important topic that we started to review in my first lecture in marketing. Market research matters. We all heard quite a lot of stories, especially about car manufacturing companies, where a new model enters the market, foreign market, and then, only then, people realize that the name of the model means something stupid, offensive, or just ridiculous in that local market because of the local language. And the best part, nobody checked. These are regional small details. Look minor until they decide whether you have success or failure. Next point is subculture. And no. I'm not talking about goths, emos, and metalheads or variety of subcultures in rap music. No, I'm talking about something much more serious. A cultural layer inside of one country. Different habits, different values, different daily behaviors. Sometimes it's like your market to several countries at once. And China here will be a perfect example. Take, for example, North and South. In the North, people often like to show the success. If they achieve something, you'll see it. Trendy outfits, luxury brands, visible signals of "I made it." In the South, people are usually much more practical. Simple t-shirt, shorts, flip-flops, sometimes no brand at all. Why? Because it's hot. You'll change that shirt 2 or 3 times a day. Summer is easy plus 35 Celsius. The lowest temperature I've personally seen in Shenzhen was around 10 degrees Celsius. So yeah, nobody wants to show off in designer layers when you're melting. Food is another good example. Take for example Sichuan and Hunan. Spicy, aggressive, painful in a good way. Canton? No. Light flavors, blend flavors. Gentlemen, please. Now imagine you entering China with one all China marketing strategy. It doesn't exist. Subculture isn't about music taste and fashion tribes. No. It's everyday behavior, perception, and values. Miss this and you can fail fast and loudly. Now, let's talk about the social class. A lot of people think, well, it's simple. You have money, you live flashy. You don't have money, well, you live the modest. Well, not exactly. Let's talk simple image. When you hear successful person, what car pops into your head? If we exaggerate, it's probably something like Ferrari, Maybach, loud success, obvious success, right? Now, look how things are, let's say, in Italy or France. Huh? There's a lot of rich people, successful footballers or other kind of celebrities who are driving the most simplest car and budget car possible. Comparing to our logic, if we are successful, so there should be a Ferrari or Maybach, right? Right. So those things are regional and practical. Obviously, in France and Italy, they have quite an interesting reason because of their driving habits there. You see, it could be about the specific item in this market, or could be in overall. Because maybe in this region nobody cares about status for a big list of items. Status, there is not always communicated through the luxury. Sometimes status is also communicated through not needing to show anything. And this is exactly what some car companies suddenly realized after 2022, when luxury brands started counting their losses and going, wait, something feels wrong. It turned out that Russia was an extremely strong luxury market because cars there weren't just transport, they were symbols. Representations matter far more than in many other regions. At some point, Russia even overtook China in luxury car purchases per 1,000 people. And that is not just about the cars. In so-called collective West, luxury brands like Dolce & Gabbana, Gucci, Armani are usually worn for special occasions, gala dinners, formal events, business receptions, moments where luxury is appropriate. In a lot of other regions, if money allows, people happily wear Gucci and Armani in everyday life. Not for an event, for the street, for coffee, for showing I made it. Why does this matter? Well, because if you sell luxury brand, you must understand how luxury is consumed in this or another region. In one region, luxury is everyday, high volume, strong demand, status through visibility. In another, luxury is ceremonial, lower volume, more symbolic, status through restraint. Here, showing off is valued. There, showing off is suspicious or even frowned upon. So your marketing cannot be the same. Your tone cannot be the same either. Your messaging also cannot be the same. That's why social class is not about how much money people have. No, it's about how people use money, how they display it, and how they treat brands culturally. And that's a completely different level of thinking. Well, we finally reached the end. We've broken down all major factors that influence consumer behavior: psychological, social, and cultural. What we're gonna do with it? Well, use it. First, we use it to choose the target audience. Now we can actually understand what they want, what they need, what drives them, and what they are trying to achieve. Second, we use it to shape the product around that audience. Not in a fake way, but in a smart way. We learn into their expectations, their cultural background, and their social reality, so the product feels naturally attractive to them. Third, we use it in marketing campaign, in positioning, in managing, in what we emphasize and what we shut up about. And of course, we use this also for the pricing. Pricing strategy doesn't live in a vacuum. Price only makes sense inside the customer's psychology and aside the culture they're living in. So yes, the whole lecture was basically a base, a foundation, which we require yet to complete. With a lot of other analyses reviewed prior we even enter the topic marketing mix, well, at least 4P. But not today. For today, I'm finally finished. Here, I would like to thank you for your attention, and of course, your likes, your comments are highly appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you don't want to miss my next videos. But for today, I'm finished. Thank you so much. Danke schön. Hamkum kap. Arigato. Сессия. And Shakal Hadzadin.